Starting chapter 22. Verse 6. Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old he will not depart from it. That's pretty self-explanatory there. You train up the child the right way of the Lord, the way of the admonition of the Lord. You train him the right way. Train him to follow the Lord. Train him to do what's right. And it says here, when he's old, even when he's old, he won't depart from it. There'll be things he won't forget. There'll be things that he'll remember all the way to the day, from the day he learned it to the day he dies. He'll remember it. But also that also goes in a negative context. This is talking about training him up the right way, and he won't depart from it. But you know, if it says do it in the right way, it also works the same way if you train them the wrong way. When they're old, they still won't depart from it, because that's why they were raised, that's why they were trained, that's why they think it's right, and that's what's been built in there. So even when they're old, they'll still think that's the right way, and it'll be hard to break them from it. So the best thing to do when you're training up a child, when you've got a child at the house, get involved with their life. Try to help them. Try to teach them the right thing to do. Don't just throw them off somewhere and say, "I'll let them do it. You figure it out. I got too much things. I got more important things to do to worry about you." Train them up. Get involved in their lives. And if they got questions, answer them. If they do something wrong, chastise them. But don't just chastise them and don't even tell them what's wrong. Don't just grab them and start tearing them up and whipping them and everything, and then when they're done, just, all right, you little devil, get out of here. Well, what I do? Just shut up, leave me alone. That don't work. You at least tell them what they did wrong, so they won't do it again. Just train them up right. Verse 15 of chapter 22. Foolishness is bound in the heart of a child, but the rod of correction shall drive it far from him. I quoted that verse earlier. Foolishness, rebellion, stubbornness, folly, foolishness, all kind of mocking, all that kind of mess is all bound in the heart of the child. When the child's born, they're born with the iniquity of Adam. They're born with his nature, Adam's nature, the Adamic nature, the nature of sin, the nature of rebellion and hatred of God. They're born with that. They don't have no interest in anything religious. They just want to do what they want to. They're just a bunch of crazy. They're just crazy like you were when you were a child. But it says here, the rod of correction shall drive it far from him. You bring that rod out and start using it on him. That will drive it away from him. He won't want to act that way anymore, because whenever you see it, you use the rod on it. Whenever you see it, the reproof and the chastisement shows up. And they know that. They'll figure it out. Every time they act that way, every time they do something wrong, every time they do something wrong that you told them not to do, every time they go against God, go against you, do something wrong and not right, that's when the rod comes out, and that's when the chastisement comes, and that's when you deal with it, and you say, every time you do that, you're going to be meeting Mr. Rod. Mr. Rod's going to come out, and you're going to meet him, and he's going to win every time, and then he's going to get a hold of you, and he's going to win every time. Yeah, mention that child. He'll drive it far from that child. He won't want to act that way no more. You don't need to give him a pill for some ADHD garbage that's not real. There's no such thing as ADHD and ADD. That's a lie from hell. That attention deficit junk, where the reason they act that way is because they just have a disorder and they can't listen, and you gotta give them a pill so they'll listen to you. That's not true. Take a rod, beat them with the rod. It don't cost nothing. Take a little stick, get a little branch from a stick, from a tree or a little bush. Take a little switch or a belt, tear them apart with it, tear them up with it. Whenever they do something wrong, tell them, do this. If they don't do it after the first time, open rebellion, tear them up with the switch. And say, every time you don't do what I tell you to do, you're going to get this. It'll get rid of that ADD pretty fast. They won't have it. They eventually won't have ADD. They'll have he listens to me. They'll have that. They'll have he listens to me. Chapter 23. Verses 13 and 14. Withhold not correction from the child, for if thou beatest him with a rod, he shall not die. That's basically saying, don't keep correction away from the child. Whenever the child does something wrong, don't withhold the correction. Put the correction on it. For if thou beatest him, that's what the Bible calls it. It's not talking about child abuse type stuff. It's not talking about getting a ball bat and beating them up. It's not talking about using a rock. It's not talking about child abuse type stuff. It's talking about using it's talking about a whipping. That's what it's talking about. Withhold not correction from the child. Don't withhold the correction. Don't withhold the chastisement. If thou beatest him with a rod, if you use the rod on him, he shall not die. He doesn't say he will. He says he shall not die. For verse 14, thou shalt beat him with the rod, and shalt deliver his soul from hell. If you use the rod on this child and chastise them and deal with them when they're wrong, teach them what they did was wrong, and that wrong will be dealt with swiftly and harshly. Will be dealt with the rod and reproof. Will be dealt with. We're not going to put up with wrongdoing here. We're going to follow God. We're going to do what's right, not what's wrong. Whenever you do wrong, we're going to deal with it. If you do that, it'll deliver their soul from hell. If you leave a child to themselves and never discipline them on anything and let them do what they want to, they're going to die and go to hell. Unless God gets involved and saves them at some point in their life, they're going to die and go to hell. That's what it's saying. Verse 17, let not thine heart envy sinners, but be thou in the fear of the Lord all the day long. That's basically there saying, don't envy a sinner. Don't want to be like a sinner. Don't want to be with the sinner. Don't say, I wish I had what they had. I wish I could be part of them. I wish I could be part of their crowd. Man, they look like they're doing so much better than me. Why can't I be part of them? Why can't I be one of them? Don't do that with a sinner. I know they look like they're doing good. David got that way. He was looking at sinners and seeing their prosperity, seeing that they were doing better, and at least it appeared. Looked like they had more money, looked like they had better, prosperous lives. They were enjoying themselves. There's no judgment on their life. It seemed like God was not paying them any attention. And he was like, what's the use? Look at these people. I should be hanging around with them. I'd be doing really good. And he was starting to envy them. He said, he basically was saying, man, I'm starting to envy these people. Why can't I be with them? Why can't I be like them? Why can't I be one of them? But then eventually he went to the house of the Lord, and he got the help, and he got help. So it's best, don't envy the sinner. The sinner's eventually going to be cast into hell. You're going to heaven if you're saved. The sinner's going to eventually be thrown in hellfire if they don't repent. And then, by the way, they may look like they're doing real great from the outside. On the inside, there's no peace, there's no joy. More likely than most all of them are depressed. They got a messed up home. They got a messed up life. You just don't see it. You may just see some bits of their life where they're just like, yeah, I'm having a great time. They're not. But be thou in the fear of the Lord. All that says, hey, don't you envy them. Don't pay no attention to them. You just continue to fear me, and everything will be all right. It says, you just stay, but thou be thou in the fear of the Lord all the day long. You fear God, you'll do right. Fear of the Lord will keep you going straight, doing right, following Him. He says, you stay in the fear of the Lord, you'll continue doing what's right, and you'll be prosperous. Chapter 33, verses 29. There's several verses here that talk about. This here. The context here is about alcohol. Who hath woe? Who hath sorrow? Who hath contentions? Who hath babbling? Who hath wounds without cause? Who hath redness of eyes? This is verse 30. They that tarry long at the wine, and they that go to seek mixed wine. Look not thou upon the wine when it is red, when it is given its color in the cup, when it moveth itself aright, and at last it biteth like a serpent, and stingeth like an adder. That's talking about alcohol there. Who hath woes? Who hath sorrow? Who's sorrowful? Who's broken? Who's defeated and discouraged and depressed? Who's got contentions? Who's fighting all the time? Who's in fights and quarrels? Who has battle? Who just rumbles about stupid stuff that makes absolutely no sense and looks like an idiot? Who hath wounds? Who wakes up the next morning and has a cut on their leg or is in the hospital about to die, and they're like, where did that come from? You know, who has a wound without cause? Who hath redness of eyes? Who's got the bloodshot eyes? Who's got the eyes where they got their bloodshot? Who has those eyes? The people, and it's asking those questions. And then they answer. Verse 30 is the answer. They that tarry long at the wine, they that go to seek mixed wine. Basically, the drunks have it. The drunks, the ones that drink alcohol, they got it. They got all that. And it's basically here is telling you to stay away from the wine when it's red. Stay away when it's given its color in the cup, when it moves itself right. Stay away from it when it's like that. It's all now the Bible. The word wine translated. There's several ones. There's the Hebrew words. There's shakar, terosh, and yayin. Shakar is strong drink. Terosh is unfermented grape juice. And yayin means wine or drink. It's generic. It means drink. So you gotta, the one with yin, you gotta just look at the context and know which one it's talking about. It can be talking about alcoholic or unfermented grape juice. In this case, it's talking about alcoholic. It's all right for you to drink wine that's just regular grape juice. It's not unfermented grape juice, not alcoholic. This here is talking about alcoholic. And it's telling you not to look upon it. It's telling you to stay away from it. And at the last, it bites like a serpent. It's saying like adder. What does wine eventually do? What will liquor eventually do to you? Well, it can destroy your home. It can destroy your life. It can get you killed, get your home destroyed, get your kids killed, get your family killed, get them to leave you, get away from you, cause you to destroy your life by going out and getting fornicating with some woman or a man or whatever. Have you lose your job, get you lose all your money. You end up living in a bridge because all you think about is getting some more liquor. It can cause a lot of destruction. Like it said here, who hath woe, sorrow, who has has contentions, fighting, who has babblings, wounds without cause. Some people, they won't even know they're dead. Some people, drunks will get killed and they won't even know it until they die and go to hell. Chapter 24, verse 1. Be not thou envious against evil men, neither desire to be with them. For their heart studieth destruction, and their lips talk of mischief. That's verses 1 and 2 of chapter 24. Again, don't be envious against the evil man. Don't be envious of them. Don't want to be with them. Don't want to be friends with them. Don't want to do the things they do. Don't want to be pals and buddies with them. It says don't desire to be with them. Don't be envious with them, because all they study is destruction and death and sin. All they want to do is get involved in something, do something wrong. That's all they do. And their lips talk of mischief. I'm going to look up that word a minute. Mischief. What's the word mischief mean? The word for mischief here is amal, which means wearing effort, worry, grievous, iniquity, labor, mischief, miserable, pain, perverseness, sorrow, toil, travail, trouble, wearisome, wickedness. It's just basically, they talk of wickedness and mischief. They talk of pain, toils, sorrows, travails, grievances. That's what they're. That's all they desire. That's all these people desire. The evil men. It says, don't be envious of them. Don't want to be around them. Don't want to be part of them. Stay away from those kind of people. Chapter 24, verse 19 and 20. Fret not thyself because of evil men, neither be thou envious at the wicked, for there shall be no reward to the evil men. The candle of the wicked shall be put out. Again, right here. Again, here's another one about envy. Don't envy the wicked. It says, don't fret yourself. Don't concern yourself. Don't get upset. Don't get discouraged and moved by what the wicked are doing. Don't be moved by them. Don't let them affect you. Don't let them affect your joy. Don't let them affect your peace. Don't let them get involved. Don't let them mess your spirituality up. And don't be envious of them either, because God says, hey, they're not going to get no reward. There's no reward for those people. They look like they're doing good now, but they're not going to get a reward. They're going to get there. They're not going to get anything but judgment. If they don't repent, there's going to be no reward for the evil men. They don't get it evil. They're not going to get a reward. The candle of the wicked shall be put out. They're going to be destroyed. God's going to destroy them. God's going to destroy the wicked.